This video is brought to you by Patreon provider Derek.
Hello and welcome. Today we're taking a look at this Delta Stryker HD 1:6. This was graciously sent in by Patreon provider Derek. So Derek, thank you very much. Derek reached out to me a couple months ago, a long time ago, and said, hey, I ordered a Delta from a company. It's going to take a while for them to get it in stock, but could I just have them send it to you so you could review it? And I said, why, of course you can. I was very excited for two reasons. One, it's an LPVO, and I love LPVOs. But secondly, I've never gotten my hand on a Delta before, and I knew not that much about them. So when this arrived the other day, I was very excited to see what they had in store. Right off the bat, the box is fantastic. I like the size of it. It feels really good. Everything inside is pretty secure, and that's always a good thing. Now, there's nothing on the box that says where this thing is made, and that's one thing I'm always curious to see. Box is very simple. Pull this off. That's all you got for that. Throw that to the back. And then voila. So inside this little bag we have a battery and we have a little throw lever that we're going to be installing while we're at it. So that is basically it. Let's pull this scope out of the bag. And here we have it. This little throw lever looks like it gets screwed on right there. So I'm going to get ahead of myself and do it like that because these excite me. Because why shouldn't this come included with every LPVO on the market? I do not really know. Anyway, the overall fit and finish and feel of this thing so far feels really good. This thing is actually very lightweight. These come in at around $600 to $700 depending on where you can find it. And that's a lot of money for an LPVO, especially for me, one that I've never really heard much about. But I can say that there is some good news with that because this thing is made in Japan. From there, let's check out the fast focus eyepiece. It does have a really good smooth action. Take it all the way out, put it in a little bit. Absolutely zero wiggle or play. Nice and solid like all fast focus eyepieces should be. Granted, this is brand new, fresh out the box, but it feels really good so far. Keep that all the way in for safekeeping. This being a 1:6, you can clearly see we have 1 on the 9 o'clock side, 6 on the 3 o'clock side. So this is a 180-degree sweep, which is again standard for most LPVOs. With the attached throw lever, I'm going to avoid that for right now, just to see how well this turns. This feels utterly fantastic. Right here, the sirens in the background more than you can hear this thing turning, because it is absolutely silent and feels phenomenal. Throw lever makes this thing a breeze. So far, so good. This thing feels excellent. Delta right over there, nicely engraved. My cat is playing with a piece of bubble wrap. I'll get to her later. First, look at the illumination ring, but also the battery compartment inside. This is actually a really nice and easy cap to remove. You have really good splining on the outside of this. Pretty good texture on there. Not a crazy amount where it's going to rip your finger apart, but you do have a really good purchase. Plenty of threads on this. A nice fat O-ring on that cap, so you don't have to worry about any water getting inside. Big old spring right there on the positive side, and there is our CR2032 battery. See if I can get this out with my lack of fingernails. There is your battery compartment, nice and beefy, which I've been seeing this battery compartment being more and more common on LPVOs and scopes in general, and I really like that. It has nice positive pressure on the negative terminal, and you have all these little fingers on the side giving you positive contact with the positive part of the battery. No pun intended. Screwing the cap back on is nice and easy, and we're done. Whoop, getting ahead of myself. There are 11 brightness settings, which I do feel might be a little bit too much because I think you're just going to be constantly shuffling this back and forth in certain environments, or as opposed to just setting it and just running it. But anyway, let's see how these feel and sound. Very little play back and forth once it's in the detent. Very sharp, clear, and crisp. Fantastic. Fantastic. We'll touch on what the illumination looks like in a little bit when we look at the reticle, but for right now, let's take a look at the windage and elevation. Starting off with the elevation, you can see these turrets look kind of familiar, and we'll touch on that in a moment, but let's give these a titty twist and see how they sound. They feel excellent, a little bit of play back and forth, but once it's in the detent, it's really nice and sharp. Feels really good. And one nice feature about this, pop them up, spin them around. There is your new 0, if I can get it right. And I mean, it doesn't line up perfectly, but with this being a LPVO with a pretty nice reticle on it, we shouldn't have to worry about this being 0 too much. Windage is exactly the same turret, and I mean exactly to the point where you go from 0, 1, and then 9, which should be 1. So they basically just took this cap and put it over, well, that cap and put it over here. Same toolless 0 on the windage. And what these remind me of are Trijicon AccuPower turrets. Basically identical in every single way, but from what I remember from the AccuPower, they were fantastic.
All right, taking a look through the Stryker HD, and right off the bat, we have a nice, big, bright image. Illumination here at full is certainly daytime bright, despite the fact we have a lot of cloud cover. One thing that stands out to me really quickly is how little of the scope body we can see. It's something that me, personally, I really like in LPVO. We can see that there's a little bit of warping to the edge when we go across the power lines, indicating a slight touch of fisheyeing, but overall it doesn't seem that bad. Bumping the magnification to its maximum of 6 here at 30 yards, and we can see that we still have a very clear and bright image, despite the fact that it's slightly overcast and we're at very close distances. If you just watched my AccuPower 1 to 8 video, you'd have seen that at 6 to 8x at this sort of distance, it isn't as clear or as sharp. I'm not too sure which attributes of the scope affect that, but in here, it's working very well. We move back to about 400 yards, and we can see a little bit of chromatic aberration at the bottom part of the windows against the top of the roof, and we do see a little bit of blurring at the edge. However, the rest of the image looks absolutely fantastic. This scope so far is seeming really good. It feels well built with really solid controls, the illumination is excellent, and the glass seems good. If this scope can continue to perform at this level, for its price of around $600 or $700, especially the fact that it's made in Japan, I think you might be looking at something that could be extremely competitive in today's market. And with that, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time. And a very huge thank you to all of my Patreon providers. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can still help support by using my affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.